Welcome back to another Chatting with Wisdom. This is our weekly interview series, and this is Geegado Megwan Kwe, which means Talking Feather Women. And I am here to embrace the wisdom of heartfelt conversations with Linda. And so we are here on today to be able to share about apparently I can't read. So to share Linda Rodgers, and who's joining us today. She is a resilient author, speaker, and educator with over 30 years experience in education, in the educational sector. Linda passionately explores the depths of the human psyche, drawn from her own journey of resilience and transformation as a survivor of trauma. She is a changemaker and an advocate for the transformative power of thought on physical and emotional healing. She seamlessly navigates the intricate interplay of quantum physics, and I don't know if I can, epigenetics, and unraveling our innate potential for self-healing. So today's topic is transforming limiting beliefs into triumphs. And so we're going to join Linda. Join us as Linda shares her profound insights on transforming limited beliefs into triumphs. Her approach intertwines modern science, spirituality, and the traditional wisdom, offering a holistic path to healing and empowerment. So this isn't just an interview, it's a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. And Linda's wisdom and storytelling will inspire you to unlock your potential and overcome life's challenges with resilience and grace. Tune in and join in the conversation as we explore the path to healing, the mother wounds, and intergenerational trauma. So welcome. How are you?
Hi, Rollie. First of all, let me thank you for allowing me part of this experience. I'm so thrilled to be here. I am doing great. It is a beautiful, warm day in Southern Ontario. What a gift we have for February. I can't recall ever seeing temperatures this warm. It's absolutely lovely. I'm enjoying it.
So our mutual friend Maggie would be really excited to drive up north to come and see us. So the very first time that Maggie came up north from St. Catharines was we had a women's conference, and they had and there was a snowstorm. So she drove up in a snowstorm to do her very first live event conversation. And so it was, she's like, I'm never coming back here ever again. In the middle of winter. She did come back up again at different times, but I'm never coming back up here in the middle of winter again, because she has the luxury of the beautiful weather down in St. Catharines versus our snowy, stormy weather up here. Wow. But we have very warm, mild weathers right now.
Yeah, I've actually heard the robins singing, and that's always exciting to me. I love when I hear them because I know that spring is on its way.
I love it. I love it. So I love it when I get to connect with inspiring women from Ontario specifically. I love connecting with inspiring women everywhere, but when it's like, hey, they're in my neighborhood, I love it. I think that it's amazing that we have so many Ontario women that have this passion for sharing their wisdom and being able to bring forward what it is that they want to be able to share with the world. And so whether it's their own stories or whether it is something that they're doing in their business, whatever it is that looks like, I love that whole inspirational piece. And it's even more exciting when it's people from Ontario, when it's women from Ontario. So for those of you who do not know where I am at northeastern Ontario. So I think I'm about 6 or 8 hours northeast of you guys, I believe, right?
Yeah, I'm about 20 minutes from Niagara Falls. I'm a little farther south than Maggie is.
Okay.
20 minutes apart. And so I'm in the city of Welland, which is famous for the Welland Canal. And we have a beautiful part of the region of Niagara here, and it's just a lovely place to live.
It really is. I love going down there. So it's a very beautiful place to be. So now let's talk a little bit about your journey. So tell me a little bit about how did you end up where you are right now?
Well, I had this really surprising diagnosis that came shortly before the pandemic. Just to go back a little ways, I experienced childhood trauma. I was sexually assaulted and never had the opportunity to work through those because it was a secret, and I didn't talk about it, and no one knew about it. And so facing those big emotions and that big experience just never happened. And then many decades later, I was going through a lot of life changes. My marriage had crumbled. I was having trouble at work. Things were difficult at work with workplace violence. I work with students with special needs, and I love my job. Absolutely rewarding in all levels, but it can be a challenge sometimes, especially when you're working with students who have difficulty with emotional regulation. And sometimes being in proximity to my students when they're having those anxious outbursts resulted in some situations that included violence. So I was having trouble at home. My marriage was falling apart. I was having trouble at work. I was experiencing workplace violence. And then my daughter got this life-altering diagnosis with a super rare heart condition, and she lost the ability to drive and support herself. And then I got hit with my own life-altering diagnosis, which included a visit to the nearest cancer center. And all of this happened shortly before the pandemic, about a year before the pandemic. And that's when I reached this low point in my life. When I thought there was a place like rock bottom, I found out there was a place even lower than rock bottom. And I'll tell you why that happened is because when I was going through all these really difficult things in my life, I just couldn't deal with it anymore. I reached a point where I was like, enough is enough. I've got to take this into my hands and do something better with my life. I need to heal. I need to move past this. And so I made the decision. I called the sexual assault helpline in our region, and I asked to speak to a therapist, and I got put on hold. And as I waited, I was hopeful, but I was scared. And I was like, I need help. I just need to get through this. And then when the person came back on the line, she was like really, really nice and said, yeah, for sure, we can help you. But the only thing is that there's a wait list. And that wait list was a year long. And now I was devastated because here I was, I'm ready. I finally made the decision that it was time to get some help, and I wanted to get some healing. And then I was told, sorry, you have to wait. And I was really crushed, but I got on the wait list anyhow. And then I thought, like, heck, am I going to sit around and wait for someone to call me and say, hey, your number's up, you can come in to get your healing now? I thought, no way. I am going to go on my own healing journey. And that's when this whole thing started to unfold for me. I wanted to understand what was happening in my body. And when I got the diagnosis of PTSD, I was super surprised because although I had acknowledged the fact that I'd experienced sexual trauma as a child, I hadn't really integrated the idea that that could be the root cause for all the physical and emotional symptoms I'd been experiencing. So up until that point, I was just dealing with them individually. So I would go see my chiropractor for my back pain, and I'd go see a naturopath for the IBS. And then I'd take up Reiki or yoga or other healing modalities to deal with individually all the little problems that were popping up. And then once I started to explore what PTSD was all about, the dots lined up. And I was like, wow, all of these emotional experiences culminated in this holistic type of experience that I was having that affected me emotionally and physically. And once I realized this, I thought, wow, if I could go on for 40 years and not know that I had PTSD, I bet it could happen to anybody. And so I was waiting on this wait list, going through these experiences of figuring this stuff out on my own. I studied quantum physics, and I studied epigenetics, and I studied the spiritual side of understanding who I was and what I wanted. And then the pandemic happened, and I was like, wow, if I can experience all these issues, and the whole world is involved in all this stress and anxiety and trauma and difficulties, I wonder if there are other people out there who might not know how to process trauma. I wonder if there might be other people out there who will not be able to recognize the signs of long-term stress and trauma and the consequences of it. Because if we don't allow our bodies to process that emotional stress and pain that we've experienced, it kind of settles in our body as inflammation and can cause a whole host of other issues. And it may not be immediately. It may just be something that we experience further down the road. And I just thought, there's no way I can hold on to all this information. I can't keep it for myself. I have to share what I've learned. And I just decided it was time, that Maggie and Bunny, for those who don't know Maggie, she and Bunny are the proprietors of a publishing business. It was just a very serendipitous type of thing. As I met them, the idea of writing a book came to me. And so the universe does this, doesn't it? They present us with who we need in just the right moments. And so when I met Bunny and Maggie, and it was just the right time for me to get this important message out to the world. And so I wrote a book about my experience, about how it related to the pandemic, and how people might want to look out for difficulties farther down the road if they're not able to process their trauma.
And it really does make a difference when we get to understand where that's coming from, right? So when we can actually understand where that's coming from, what it is that's happening, it doesn't change how things have happened or how you've navigated through, but being able to have an idea and understanding of after it's come to light, of how you can make changes and how you can shift and how you can actually deal with it. And so one of the things that I say all the time, and I've been in mental health and addictions for a long time, and so when we would look at things, it was like everything is like, okay, we're only going to deal with your mental health, okay, and then the doctors are only going to work with your physical health, and then you're going to work with so you had sexual trauma, so then you're going to work with the sexual assault workers, and you're going to deal with, and so like everything was like dealing with all of these things, but you had to bring it all together. And one of the things that I discovered in the years of working for multiple agencies is that there was not a component of spirituality and bringing in that final piece of bringing things together. And so when I was reading your bio today, and it was like, okay, she's got it. She understands that there's that missing piece and there's that missing link of like, we are of a component of a whole, not a component of pieces and parts of who we are. And so it's just really, I love it when people have that ability of being able to see where that's coming from and how that's going. So tell me a little bit more about how you were able to bring things together.
Yeah. So part of the ways I decided that it was best for me to heal, because everybody is different, right? We don't all heal the same way. Just as we don't accumulate traumas and stresses the same way, we all heal in our own capacities. So one of the ways that I embarked on to help uncover some of the limiting beliefs I had was to delve into some of the experiences of my childhood. Now, the sexual trauma was one part of what I experienced, but there were others. And we all have what some people call little T's and big T's, so the little traumas and the big traumas. And we may not always realize that they are traumatic experiences as we're going through them in the moment. And sometimes it's not really a trauma, it's more of an experience that affects the way we consider our existence. And to elaborate on this, I'd like to explain a little bit about what beliefs are and where they come from, because for me it was important to understand this part. So if we think of beliefs like the ideas we carry around in our heads about what we consider to be true or real, and they're like our personal guides. They shape how we see the world and influence how we act. It's the things we just know to be true, even if we can't prove them with hard facts, right? And these beliefs come from our experiences, how we were brought up, what we've been taught, or even what culture we're part of. They're like the invisible filters through which we view the world. And interestingly, they're not always based on concrete evidence either. Sometimes it's just a strong feeling or a sense of certainty, whether it's our ideas about right and wrong, what's important in life, or even bigger questions about our existence. And they give our lives like this unique flavor. They make us who we are. And now, limiting beliefs, now that we understand we have this foundation of what beliefs are about. So for limiting beliefs, picture them as this mental roadblock that sneaks up into our thinking patterns and it holds us back. They are the beliefs that tell us we can't do something. we can't achieve something, or we can't be something. And usually without much solid evidence.
Yes.
It's like having a tiny voice inside your head saying, you're not good enough, or you can't handle that. And these beliefs often stem from past experiences, fears, or even what others have told us. And they act like invisible chains, and they keep us from reaching our full potential. And the tricky part is sometimes we're not even aware that we have these limiting beliefs. They just quietly influence our decisions and actions, and creating this comfort zone that might be smaller than it should be. But the good news is once we identify those sneaky beliefs, we can work on breaking free from them and opening up new possibilities. It's like giving ourselves permission to go beyond what we once thought was possible.
And again, I love that, because one of the things that that when we're talking about the big T's and the little T's, and so we grew up in a household of 4 girls. And so if you ask any one of us as to what it was like living in our household, we all have different versions, and we all have different recollections and memories of the things that happened. So and I've openly shared that I come from an adult home of an alcoholic. So I'm an adult child of an alcoholic. And so like there was lots of things that we would just be like, it was just kind of normal, and it was like not a big deal. And so then until I started going through and learning more about the dynamics and how all of those things worked, and what my role of the family was versus what the role of my siblings' roles of the families were, and different things like that. But we experience the trauma, and it's actually stored in our bodies. So like when you were talking about having experienced cancer, is that oftentimes those illnesses that creep up, so whether it's cancer or other types of illnesses, is generally based on some type of trauma that has happened, or at least that's what the studies, or at least that's what I've learned, is that that's where it kind of comes into play. So I know that there's some people that will debunk that, but I really truly believe in that power of our body. And so I'm a strong, huge fan of Louise Hay, and there are other authors as well. But Louise Hay's book is the one that's always by my side, that I pull out very quickly when something is going on with me physically. So if I'm having, my back is hurting, different things like that, even though that there may be something logical as to why my back is hurting, or I stubbed my toe. So what's going on with toe pain, right? And people think that, especially my husband thinks that I'm nuts. And it's like, no, but really, because then when I actually look at where I'm at emotionally, I stubbed my toe because emotionally I'm in this place, and it always fits, and like it never not fits. And so and I love that piece of being able to help us understand where we're coming from, and that spiritual connection of who we are, from being able to have that identity as to what's happening and what's going on. So is that relatively close to your experience?
Yeah, I would like to add, however, that our beliefs and the way we think, our self-perception, the way we see ourselves, is not always based in life-threatening or difficult moments. And I like to tell this story because it really happened. This limiting belief I developed happened through something beautiful.
Okay.
And yeah, so it started off not so amazing, because my father, who was a blue-collar construction worker, was injured on the job. He was the only breadwinner for our family. My mom was a homemaker. And when he lost the ability to support his family, we quickly found ourselves needing social assistance support programs. And I'm fortunate because I have this huge extended family, and some of them pitched in to help out. And one of the ways that I received support was older cousins who would give me their hand-me-down clothes. And I loved receiving these clothes. I mean, I would pull out all these items, and it was like Christmas morning. Everything was new to me. But part of my identity identified with the container it arrived in. So these clothes would arrive in these big, dark trash bags. And so part of me held on to the belief that I was never going to be worth more than the contents of a garbage bag. And so although it started with this gift of giving clothes, the limiting belief remained of not being worthy, of being worthless.
And so, and that has an impact as to how we actually see and view the things that we're going through. And just when you were actually talking about like coming out of the positive things, that was one of the conversations that we had with one of our speakers for the conference this week, is that she was actually talking exactly about that, where because we were talking about food and how it nourishes you and how it impacts us. And so it's about the how those different things come into play. And so it is those memories. So like it is those positive memories. So when I smell homemade bread cooking, it's like I'm taken back to when I was a kid at my grandmother's house, who was always making bread in the wood oven. Like we had a wood, they didn't have like a normal, it was always a wood, like one of those old fashioned kind of wood things, stoves. And so like when I smell that, whether I'm in a grocery store, whether I'm in a house, or it always takes me back to that moment. And they were positive. That was positive. That was like a happy moment. And so it's just remembering that, that we have these different things of, and so I'm glad that you actually pointed out that sometimes those experiences come from those positive moments and those cherished memories.
Yeah. One of the things I like to talk about as well is that many of the beliefs that we hold on to today were never really ours to begin with. And what I mean by that is when we're born, we're like fresh out of the factory. We don't have all these programmings and ideas that we have now as adults. And as we age, between the ages of 0 to 13 is when we're just like sponges. We take it all in. We learn we learn from our environment, and everything we receive during those times comes from others. Right? We didn't choose our name; it was given to us. The language we speak because we echo the language of the people that are in our families. The culture, our religious beliefs, all these things accumulate to. And what we've learned in school and what we learn from our friends and from our communities, they create the belief system that supports us and keeps us safe, right? Yes. So the adults in our lives who loved and protected us, they would tell us things like, well, don't touch the stove because it'll hurt you, you'll get burned. And if we did touch the stove and we got burned, we thought, oh, okay, I better listen and do as I'm told, because they're here to protect me ultimately. Yes. And so later on, when we encounter other situations where people might tell us things that may not be so beneficial, we may still believe them because we've inherently latched onto the idea that adults are going to tell us the truth and that we should believe them. As we age as adults, it's part of our growth and development includes uncovering what some of those limiting beliefs were and testing them. Do they still hold water?
Yeah.
Do these limiting beliefs, or do these beliefs still ring true for me today? And if not, then maybe it's time we take up some new beliefs.
And it's just really important that we actually have those. And those are the conversations that I will have with my clients often, is like, so who says, right? So they'll say, well, I have to. And it's like, so who says? Well, like who says? Like, is it really something that you say, or is it something that somebody else says? And because we do need to challenge those at times. And what served us when we were 10 doesn't necessarily serve us when we're 40. Right. So all depends on where we are and what's going on and how we're doing things. And so like even when we would be talking to my husband's grandmother, because my grandparents had passed long ago, but she would talk about like the Depression and having to like save pennies and like all those kinds of things. And so when she would be sharing about those that was then, and that was vital to what was going on. But that's not necessarily the same case now as to how these things are going on. And so, and like, that's just kind of like, it's not part of those emotional limiting belief ideas, but it's just to kind of give that concept of like there's these big things that happen from from one thing to the next, right? So, and we carry those things into all the things that we do. And so as we shift and as we change and as we explore who we are, then it makes a huge difference when we can start to identify who we are and not within our roles, right? So like that's huge in terms of being able to do that. So now tell me a little bit about, so you have something that you wanted to share with everyone that you are offering. So tell me a little bit more about what that is.
Well, I am really excited to share this news because it is very, very new. This past Friday, myself and a large group of women, I think we were 16 authors, launched a collaborative book. And it is a book written by women for women, and they are stories of success. The book is called Women Excelling Everywhere. And we have authors. I am the only Canadian author, which I'm proud to be. And we have many American authors. We have authors in the UK and also in South Africa. And so this is an international collection of inspiring stories of resilience and overcoming adversity and succeeding and excelling. And we launched this book on Friday, and wouldn't you know it, we reached #1 bestseller in one day. So excited to be able to share this news. I cannot wait to see where this is going to take us. I have still not wrapped my head around the idea that I'm an international best-selling author. And it just freaks me out to say it out loud. I don't know, call it imposter syndrome. I haven't been able to fully embrace the title yet. The women were involved in, yes, go change your bios, add that to all your stuff and all your links and be proud. And I'm like, I can't do it yet. It doesn't feel real. It hasn't sunk in. And but it is really, really exciting. And so I would encourage your listeners, if you want to hear some stories of regular women, just like you and me, who have experienced interesting, difficult, challenging things in their lives and how they overcome them. There is so much wisdom shared within these pages. It is definitely a must read.
And so what is the name of it?
The name of the book is Women Excelling Everywhere by Alma Publishing, and it is available on Amazon. Currently, it is only available for download. The paperback copies will be made available on March 8th, which is International Women's Day, right? Couldn't have timed that one better. And following this book launch, there will also be an online summit by the same name, Women Excelling Everywhere. And those details haven't been released yet, but it's my understanding it will be an online summit taking place, let's see, hopefully I get this right, 16th, 17th, and 18th of March. So yeah, if you follow me on my socials, I'll be sure to post all about it. And if you're interested, I hope you'll join us.
And that sounds absolutely exciting. And I love that you guys are actually have launched the actual book to be able to be available March 8th. And so we have, because like there's women celebrating around the world doing a number of different things. And so, yeah, so this is super exciting. And so I host a International Women Inspiring Women conference that is 3 days long. And so it is super, super exciting that is going to be one of the things that you're doing. And so, so I can't wait to read the book because I love being able to have that opportunity to read the stories and hear about what other women are doing. And so, because it's just so inspiring. And so I know that I do well and I do good. I do good work. And I know that there's a lot of things that I'm able to do, but having the inspiration from others is just helps us take that next step up, right? So it's like, oh, I get to level up by listening to something that someone else has been able to inspire and experience. And so I love being able to have these aha moments in these wonderful stories. And so I'm definitely going to take a look at the summit. I believe that is a, if it is full on that weekend, that's definitely a weekend that I have something going on, but I am definitely still excited to be able to, because I'm assuming that they're going to probably have replays. And yeah, so really excited to be able to do that. And hopefully I can actually participate during the live part of the event and go from there. So that would be really exciting. So on that note, I am going to say goodbye for another beautiful Chatting with Wisdom. And so for those of you who follow me on a regular basis, I will see you guys next week. And on that note, bye. Bye for now, and have a fabulous week.
Thanks, Rollie. Thanks to everybody. Have a wonderful week.